Hello, welcome to Local Anaesthetic Podcast, your regular injection of mind-numbing local news. This is episode 363? I just asked Rob.
373, yep.
That's on 373. And we're very happy to join you. And you've already heard, Rob is here with us as always. How are you, Rob?
Yes, I'm not too bad. Yeah, just had a very pleasant weekend away. And Sarah's mum very kindly had Lyra, so we had 2 nights without her, which, as much as I love my daughter, it was nice not, just having to be responsible for myself and no one else for a change.
Yeah, I bet. So before we crack on, is there any news?
Yeah, there's a few bits. The first one, I just wanted to share something that Steve very kindly found and shared in the listener forum. It's from the Derbyshire Live, and it's an amazing video. So there's a video on there which is half an hour long, and they were basically live streaming an event. And this particular, the tagline of the video is, "We're in a kayak in the River Derwent to watch as the Darley Abbey finally gets an awesome new bridge." So basically, Alex, the Derbyshire Live sent 2 reporters to sit in a kayak to film a bridge being put into place.
That sounds like quite fun. Yeah, I would have enjoyed it if it was like a stakeout, like one of those things that were your private detective, but not to watch a bridge. I mean, my God, they got the short end of the stick there, didn't they?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, listeners, I didn't watch the full half an hour because I couldn't think of anything more tedious. I mean, it was basically a section of a bridge being craned into place on a rather shaky video.
Next week, they send 3 journalists to a house that's being renovated to watch paint dry. But that does rank up there, doesn't it? With other, I mean, I'm trying to remember. You've got a better memory than me, I always feel. But the other things that I remember being up there were that guy who went around tasting fish and chips at different fish and chip shops in a van. Wasn't there also that guy who went out on his lunch break and would just wander around town listening for random things people said? Was that one other one?
Oh, God, what was that called? That was, what a fantastic piece of journalism.
Random
literally
things
a guy on his lunch break just watching people. Yeah, something like that. It wasn't just that. It was just his observation. So
that was it.
He would basically just report about what he saw and then random snippets of conversation that he'd been apparently just snooping in on. Bizarre. Absolutely bizarre.
Any others you can think of that are as meaningless as that? Because we've had other ones, didn't they? There was something else where they sent out 2 journalists to sit in a hot car. Wasn't there something about that? They sent out some journalists to sit in a hot car and see how long they could take it in the summer heat with the windows closed.
That's right. You're absolutely correct. Yes, there was the. I mean, what a piece of journalism! There was one the following week, which I can't remember what it was. I know they sent a journalist. There was another journalist they sent to try and fry an egg on a particularly hot day on a pavement. I mean, it's all the classics, Alex.
Yeah. Any other news, Rob?
Well, look. As listeners know, we do tend to record these in advance, and as we are currently recording, Liz Truss is still the Prime Minister. God knows how, and I feel that will change by the time this podcast is released.
Oh yeah, Rob, this is going to feel so dated. Yeah, she's currently Prime Minister with Jeremy Hunt being the de facto Prime Minister. It's not even hidden. It's not even like he's the puppeteer behind the scenes. He's out. He is calling the shots.
No, he is basically front and centre, and she's just sort of sitting in Downing Street and just basically letting him do it. She's literally just hiding. But
not a euphemism.
No. So. I don't know how we've got to this particular state of affairs, and I don't mean Liz Truss, but basically the Washington Post, the esteemed American publication, basically, Alex, they're reporting on an article from the Daily Star.
Oh, do you know what? I think I've got this story. Maybe I have. Go on.
So is it, why is Britain comparing its Prime Minister to a lettuce?
No, I don't.
Okay. Right, look, I'm not going to go too much into the story, but basically, I mean, people know what's going on. But basically, the first paragraph, what do British Prime Minister Liz Truss's political tenure and a wilting head of lettuce have in common, you might ask? They both have an expiration date.
Right. Yeah.
So apparently the head of The Economist branded her a head of lettuce. And what then happened was that the Daily Star, by the way, this is a quote from the Washington Post. They described the Daily Star as an entertainment-focused tabloid that brands itself as the home of fun stuff and regularly features photos of scantily clad celebrities, which I think is a fair assessment, really.
That could be their strapline, couldn't it? Yeah. I mean, it's a bit like the National Enquirer in that regard, I would imagine.
Yeah. So basically, the Daily Star are running a live feed, a live stream on their website to see which one will deteriorate first, either the lettuce or Liz Tenyer's.
Okay, that is a great.
Sorry, Liz Truss's tenure as Prime Minister.
That's a better idea than all these shitty ideas local journalists have come up with. That's actually pretty good. I like that.
So the live stream decay has since attracted more than 350,000 viewers as people tune in to see whether Truss's political career or the salad staple will expire faster.
In the meantime, local journalists are wasting their time sitting in a kayak watching a bridge being built. They should be they should be on Lettuce Watch, Rob.
Absolutely, Alex. Absolutely. I mean, they might also be doing that. That too. But yeah, I found it incredibly not ironic. It's just like I said, the one of the bastion of American news is covering the Daily Star. I just don't know how we found ourselves here.
No. Look, Rob, let's get on with this. I mean, there's so many places that covered this. No, right, hang on. Rob. This is an update. Now, I want to see. I don't know. The trouble is now we have the Patreon episodes, LAPodcast and Extra Jab, and we have our regular episodes. I can never quite remember what we've covered on each, which does create a bit of a problem. It doesn't create a problem. If you are a Patreon subscriber, there's no problem for you because you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. If you're not a Patreon subscriber, this should incentivize you to sign up at patreon.com/LAPodcast extra £2 a month, and you get episodes delivered to your inbox every month. Bonus episodes you can't find anywhere else, and I think we've got about 32, 33 of them on there at the moment. Can never remember. So tons of extra content. Now, I can't remember where I covered this, Rob. I suspect it could have been on the Patreon, but I might be wrong. Do you remember that story I told you about OnlyFans accusing Meta of taking bribes? Do you remember that? To help other platforms out, to help the platform outperform its rivals, something like that. Do you remember that?
I do, and that was it. It was a Patreon story.
Yes.
By the way, I've also found out that this week that in a bid to try and improve their image, OnlyFans have released a comedy competition. Which basically asks comedians to submit like 5-second clips, and it's with a £50,000 top prize.
Right. Okay.
It's basically it's comedy and porn now. So it's a nice mix.
Yeah. As I said, this version is from the Daily Telegraph. It's by Jamie Johnson. Daily Telegraph, by the way, who recently, I think their deputy editor, sort of very senior position, did you hear about this? Wrote a whole piece basically saying that Brexit's been a huge mistake, sort of thing.
Really?
Yeah.
No, I wasn't aware of that. Yeah. Good for her.
James O'Brien has been talking about it a lot. But anyway.
I bet.
Look, Rob, so basically, in this affidavit, as I understand it, in this affidavit that was filed by OnlyFans, they forgot to redact the names of the executives at Meta that they were saying were taking these bribes. So they were released accidentally in their court documents. And
I mean,
so we have to say this is alleged. I'm reporting on a story from the Telegraph. So none of these are necessarily based in fact. It's just what has been alleged. And one of the executives named, Rob, was Nick Clegg, Sir Nick Clegg, as taking bribes from a pornography site.
Oh, dear God.
Yeah.
I hope this is true.
Oh, right. Okay. Now, can I just ask you, because I'm looking at a picture now of Nick Clegg with his little, talking at some tech conference with his
little stupid
Meta
face.
Can you explain that? Right. Have you ever seen the film Lost Highway? David Lynch film. It's a real shame you haven't. So David Lynch had the idea. He was obsessed with the O.J. Simpson trial. And he said that personally he felt that O.J. Simpson committed the murders, but he said what fascinated him was how somebody could do that and then kind of continue an ordinary life, like go golfing, just keep up with day-to-day activities. And the only way they could do that was to kind of psychologically split themselves into like two different people, or what we might call a psychogenic.
Kind of compartmentalize themselves.
Compartmentalize, but in a very extreme fashion. Now, I'm not comparing Nick Clegg to O.J. Simpson or the lead character in Lost Highway, which is a film, Rob, that you would massively enjoy. It's got Bill Pullman in it and Patricia Arquette. It's a stunning film. You would love it. And I hope you do watch it because I can tell you some other interesting facts about it after you have. But Nick Clegg, again, not comparing him to an alleged murderer, anything like that. But this man, I like to think that most people who get into politics have principles. He rose to be the leader of the Liberal Democrats, who, what I mean is, if you're trying to climb the slippery career ladder of politics, the Liberal Democrats might not always be your first option because you think we're never going to get into power. He was only lucky enough to get into power by virtue of the Tories not getting enough votes and getting into a coalition government with them, right? The horrendous Nick Clegg, David Cameron for the Conservatives coalition government. But what has happened to this man? I mean, to say, right, I'm going to go and be vice president of Meta, if ever there has been a more evil, and this isn't alleged, a more evil organisation with evil intent. Tell me what you think about that. I think we've spoken about it before, but I just find
nothing.
Imagine Gordon Brown. Gordon Brown saying, "I am now working directly under Elon Musk." It wouldn't make any sense, Rob.
Alex, look, this is a man who sold out his principles as a Lib Dem by going into a coalition government with the Tories, and then just sold out the remaining part of whatever soul he had by joining Meta. I think nothing of it. It seems very on brand for Nick Clegg, if you ask me.
I wouldn't even expect this from Blair, Rob. I don't even think Tony Blair would do this gig. Anyway.
No, I agree.
Let's get to the story. So Nick Clegg has been accused by a group of adult entertainers of accepting bribes from a pornography site in a bitterly contested court filing in San Francisco. The bizarre legal action claims that Sir Nick and two other Meta executives received bribes to help adult content platform OnlyFans outperform its rivals by having them blacklisted online. So do you remember that story now? The former Deputy Prime Minister, who's now Meta's President of Global Affairs, was named in US court filings as having accepted money from the parent company of OnlyFans, an allegation both Meta and OnlyFans deny. So Nick's name and those of Nicola Mendelsohn, Vice President of Meta's Global Business Team, and European Safety Director Christian Perella were supposed to be blocked out from the court filings, but were inadvertently redacted by lawyers from Phoenix International, which owns OnlyFans. Inadvertently Unredacted is a very good name for a prog rock album.
Do you think
no?
That... No, sorry, absolutely yes.
Inadvertently Unredacted. Sorry.
Do you think they were inadvertently unredacted? Or do you think that there was part of them that this was done absolutely deliberately?
Out of spite, yeah. I don't know. All three were accused of being paid money into trust fund accounts in the Philippines, which again is strongly denied. The case centres around the subscription-based platform where people pay a monthly fee to gain access to intimate photographs, videos and live streams of their chosen adult performance. In order to promote their... Maybe that's what he can do next, to go on OnlyFans. In order to promote their explicit content, many performers, him sort of oiling up Vince Cable...
I think, come on, if anything, I think it would be Vince Cable looking to penetrate him after what he did.
Well, quite. Anyway, the legal action claims that performers promoting rival websites to OnlyFans had their social media flagged and placed on a database of extremist material shared between technology companies. As such, they claim to have been blacklisted, while OnlyFans has grown. That's what I mean. Look, that's where we are. There's no point really in. Meta argues claimants have no facts to support the story. I should give the other case. They say plaintiffs still have no facts that plausibly support their story that OnlyFans paid Meta employees to place plaintiffs on internal terrorist lists. It's quite. Let's see if there are any comments. Now, the comments on the Telegraph are always worth reading for the crack. Anthony Gittins. I occasionally wonder what is the point of certain living organisms that seem to have no useful function to fulfill on our planet. Sometimes I have the same feeling about people like Nick Clegg. Dave Edwards says, can't see how it's true, but couldn't happen to a nicer, more hardworking and deserving chap.
I'm assuming that's sarcasm.
Bertie Blunt says, my light-hearted comment here was removed. I think I'll have to remove my subscription to this organ. It's a touch woke. Anyway, here it is again. Meant to be funny. Remember humour? Does he and his missus have their own OnlyFans page, perhaps? Asking for a friend, wink. So that got removed once. It's been left up this time. So if you get a comment removed from the Telegraph one time, try posting it again. It will slip through the net. David Jones says the chap who, when Deputy Prime Minister in 2010, said it was pointless building nuclear as it wouldn't be available until 2022, now enjoying a salary of millions. What an odd world. Socrates says, despicable if true, Clegg's £2.7 million salary, oh right, that's why he works for Meta, says all that's wrong with big corporations and their nepotistic relationship with politics.
Sorry, Alex. Yeah. Can I just, did you say 7.2 million?
No, I said 2.7. So,
either way, I'll take it.
Colin White says, to be fair, he's got form for selling any principles he has for a few quid. I think that is potentially libelous. Graham says, I wonder if this explains why discussion on premature deaths due to the COVID vaccine are banned from Facebook, the dirty dog. Don't know about that one. And we just finished by Alexander Duck, who says, bear with this one, Rob. The peddlers of licentious and immoral, it is licentious, isn't it? The peddlers of the licentious and immoral sexual revolution are followers of the evil doctrines of Gramsci/Lucas. The feminist movement works on behalf of men who no longer have to take responsibility of vacuous sexual contest. Forgive me, Lord, for I have sinned. The journey of truth is painful, but worth every step. And that Rob, is as a coherent comment as you'll find on the Telegraph.
Also, I think there might be a good episode title in there somewhere.
Yes. Okay, Rob, let me finish because that was quite long. I don't know which one to read here. Do you know what? I haven't even looked at this story properly. All I know is I believe it's from a new publication, Rob. It's from the Jersey Evening Post.
Oh, you bastard.
Is your story about Razmags?
It is, Alex. Yes. A collection of vintage gentlemen's magazines, you mean?
Well, let's explore it together then, Rob. It was published, I think, on the 15th of October. Vintage gentlemen's magazines arouse interest from bidders during auction in Jersey. It really brings back memories as well. The picture, there's a picture of a magazine called Club, which I vaguely remember from my youth.
I don't remember Club.
Maybe I'm confusing with something else.
Maybe we went to one of our old houses because, I mean, everyone knows that back in the 80s and 90s, for some reason, if you wanted to find any pornography, you go to the forest, and for some inexplicable reason.
Not so much for me growing in South East London. For me, you just have to sort of walk down the street long enough until you found a sort of a porn mag sticking out of a drain cover.
Yeah, this one for me would be in a hedgerow. But I also remember moving into one of our old houses and going into the attic for the first time, and then finding a discarded magazine up there. It really was made my week, Alex. I'll be honest. I think I could only have been, I was about 15, 16, and what a joyous time that was.
Yep. Well, a stash of vintage gentlemen. It's a very short story, isn't it? Let's be fair. A stash of vintage gentlemen's magazines from the 1970s made Rob £25 at auction, but it's unlikely that some potential buyers were too shy to bid. But it's likely that some of the potential buyers were too shy to bid. The publications went under the hammer at Glencoe auctions from this week in what was believed to be the first sale of its kind. The collection of 8 editions came with a guide price of £20 to £30. Karen Dillon, the auctioneer at the event, said it was quite amusing. It made people laugh. We've had nothing like this before. We also had a couple of email inquiries from national media outlets about them. Asked about the 2-figure sum the magazines achieved, Miss Dillon said it was probably a fair price. Maybe people were too shy to bid. So
it's a brilliant story. I mean, it probably is a fair price for just, I'm assuming that they are secondhand. And they may not be in the most, I mean, you may not want to actually touch the pages too much, but I feel £25
condition. Rob, before I sort of bow out and hand over the podcast to you, can I, because these are sort of related and I feel this has to be read, this is from Yahoo Finance. Again, Yahoo Finance is the section of Yahoo which has very, as you know from previous episodes of the podcast, lots of stories that have nothing to do with finance, but it seems to be just where they shove anything, if you'll pardon the expression.
Agreed. Yeah.
Now, Rob, this is a warning for you and everybody else. Okay, take heed. It's by Mike Wenner from September the 11th, so it's a little while ago. Your future sex robot could be hacked and programmed to murder you.
Okay. It's true, you know.
Let me put on some futuristic sounding music, Rob, okay? Because I want you to...
Great.
You know, the journalist has done a very good job here of really setting the scene. Okay, here we go. It is the year 2097. There you are, enjoying the 84th season of House of Cards. Now, hang on, I'm going to stop. I've just realised this story was written in 2017. Presumably before the Spacey allegations came out.
I was to say, what? So they revived it, you know, despite the fact that the main character was accused of some quite serious things. Okay.
What I love about this, Rob, is like, you know, when Ridley Scott did Blade Runner, I know he said it for 2019, right? But there's so much of it which is a real premonition of the future. And this person decided, like, went, never be too specific. They fucked it up by going with the 84th season of House of Cards. Anyway, let's start again. It is the year 2097. There you are, enjoying the 84th season of House of Cards on your Wi-Fi-enabled neural implant when your significant other walks into the room. Sure, she isn't human, but she sure looks like it, and she has that look in her eye that tells you that she wants to get a little freaky. You float to the bedroom on your hoverboard, and are beginning to disrobe when, boom, she strangles you to death with her cold robot hands. Your sex robot was hacked, and now you're dead.
Right.
Welcome to the future. This is Yahoo Finance.
Was this a slow news day, do you think?
No, Rob. There's been a lot of talk recently about the dangers of AI, with folks like Elon Musk sounding the alarm and suggesting the very real possibility that we may be on the brink of engineering our own demise. Cybersecurity guru Dr. Nit Patterson of Deakin University in Australia has now jumped into the conversation, warning that it isn't just artificially intelligent military systems or infrastructure that could pose a threat, but sex robots as well. So he's from the University in Australia, Rob, Deakin University in Australia, speaking with the Daily Star, again quoted by Yahoo Finance. Patterson notes that the potential for hackers to target robots designed for intimacy could put users at risk. Hackers can hack into a robot or robotic device and have full control of the connections, arms, legs, and other attached... Sorry. It's me doing my Australian accent. And other attached tools, like in some cases knives or wielding devices. Often these robots can be upwards of 200 pounds and very strong. Once a robot is hacked, the hacker has full control and can issue instructions to the robot. The last thing you want is for a hacker to have control over one of these robots. Once hacked, they could absolutely be used to perform physical actions for advantageous scenario or to cause damage. Can I just say, physical actions for an advantageous scenario or to cause damage is a very nice episode title. We're at the end of the story, Rob. At the moment, the technology behind sex cyborgs is rather primitive. That was in 2017, Rob. I don't know if they are now, but there's no telling what the future could hold. If we reach a point where robots are capable of lifelike movements and their brains can be tweaked via software updates, it's certainly not out of the realm of possibility that death by sex robot ends up on some unfortunate soul's tombstone. Do you normally put the cause of death on a tombstone? You don't say died while choking on scampi. That's in the coroner's report.
Also, would you really want your future generation to know that's how you died? He was a lonely and depraved individual who died at the hands of a robot.
Sex robot, yeah. Maybe Clegg's not Clegg. Maybe he's a robot, because we don't know what goes on at Meta. You know, maybe he's been supplanted.
Maybe this is what he's working on. Maybe he's the lead on sex robot development.
I just like the idea that the real Nick Clegg is bound up in some room somewhere, being given like water and a few slices of ham a day, and they've just replaced him with an artificial intelligent Nick Clegg version to be vice president of Meta. I mean, it would be a fitting sort of would be justice, Rob.
Yeah, it would be, and also you really wouldn't tell the difference.
Okay, Rob, you've got a story for us there. What story
I've got two stories. Yeah, two stories here that are very much. We are in the season of Halloween. We are approaching it, so both these are kind of Halloween themed. The first story is from the 15th of October, featured in the Manchester Evening News by Paige Oldfield. And and it's kind of one of those stories, actually, when I read out the headline, I can imagine you going, oh, for fuck's sake, but bear with it. So the headline is, Our Children See Dead People, The Spooky Lives of Cheshire's Real-Life Addams Family.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to be patient. Well, maybe they are. I mean, I believe a child saying this more than an adult, because I think children maybe are more intuitive than we are. Our senses get dulled, Rob, as we get older, maybe.
Maybe. Okay. Yep. Fair enough. We'll remain open-minded.
Yeah.
So you may have heard about the man who got turned away from McDonald's for riding a horse. I think that's happened across the country. So obviously a horse riding through a drive-through, but what about a hearse? This was the case for poor Kenny, Kimmy Jeffrey, and their two daughters, Snow and Pebble, who have dubbed themselves the real-life Addams Family.
Sorry, Snow and Pebble?
Yes. Snow and Pebble.
Snow. Right. Rain and rock. Okay.
Yeah.
This is rock, this is rain. And it's tree. That's tree.
Over there is mud.
I did know somebody once in the United States whose name was Branch.
Branch isn't too bad. A leaf is probably acceptable. Yeah, I quite like Branch.
Leaf.
Yeah, leaf. Yeah, I can imagine.
Weed.
This is baby leaf, not weed, Alex. That sounds like
this is weed.
Unwanted.
This is weed.
Yeah. So the family-run ghost hunting business, the Occult Hauntings, and host tours at the haunted venues all around the country.
Sorry, Rob, are you telling me that a family that run a ghost hunting business happen to have children who can see dead people? What a coincidence.
Look, Alex, just because their children, Snow and Pebble, can see ghosts, I think it's entirely related to the fact they run ghost hunting tours. It's just one of those. It's the universe working in parallel.
Rob, do we need some spooky music on?
Yeah, maybe actually. Yeah, that'd be nice.
Right. No, there we go. This seems suitable.
Perfect, thank you. So keeping in line with their spooky lifestyle, the couple purchased a hearse named Morticia as a company vehicle. But Morticia soon wound up becoming the family car, regularly joining them on trips to the pub, Tesco's, and Manchester City Centre. Alex, can we just take a second just to think, if you were their parents, or their children I should say, how would you feel if you were being dropped off at school in a hearse? Which, by the way, has the branding of their company on the side. Are you aware of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think you've got to... To me, it potentially becomes like a social services issue if you're raising children. Because you're raising children in an environment where you're imbuing them with something that I'm not sure they should be... Well, first of all, right, it's not like your parents are undertakers. They're ghost hunters. And so...
Yeah.
But I guess the trouble is when you start getting into this, and sort of this sort of relativism, you can argue, if you are somebody who's sort of pretty anti-religious, you can argue that growing somebody up in a strict Christian household to believe that they're consuming the body and blood of Christ each week is no different to raising somebody to believe in apparitions and ghosts. I mean, what I mean is like, do you know what I mean? And I'm not necessarily comparing the two, I'm just saying that each to their own, but I guess it's about what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. You can go to a faith school quite easily where other people are going to believe the same things, but I don't know if there's a sort of academy for, ghosts.
For the paranormal. Yeah, no, true.
If there is,
and also
fun.
Oh yeah, yeah. Or you could say you would ghost to it.
Very good, Rob.
Thanks.
I'll end up ghosting you in a minute.
Also, I think
Hang on, Rob. Whenever we do a spooky story, normally I do my ghost that you always like. Ooh.
I felt that was a bit underwhelming this time, if I'm honest.
Right. Okay, well,
yeah,
it's an underwhelming ghost. That's what it is.
Yeah, fair enough. As many ghosts often are. We take her everywhere. This is in relation to the hearse. We were driving down Deansgate where we got branded our name of the real life Addams Family. We trademarked it. So John, Paul and Kimmy, the parents who live in Cheshire, met whilst working at school. The couple bonded over their shared love of all things paranormal, eventually going on to have children, Snow, age 9, and Pebble, age 6. The family of four had keen interest in the afterlife, starred when John gifted Kimmy tickets to a ghost tour for her birthday, and she hasn't looked back since. Though she was once sceptical of the supernatural world, Kimmy hopes that one day she can give up her job as a therapist to focus on ghost hunting full-time.
Sorry,
Which seems like a bad career choice.
Sorry, her actual job is a therapist, like somebody who helps people with emotional problems, and then she wants to give it up and become a ghost hunter. And has she had therapy yet to work out what that's about?
It doesn't
that might
say.
Be quite useful.
No. We can't speculate that. It doesn't mention that. They've been on this morning as well, by the way. So they're hoping
they always have, haven't they?
Takes off.
Any of these lot have always been on This Morning, Rob.
Yeah. No, I know. I know.
With those queue jumpers, Ollie and Philip.
That's correct. Yes, those
Queen queue jumpers.
Yeah, but it just goes to show that David Beckham, man of the people, Philip Schofield, elitist snob.
I did respect Beckham for that, I did actually respect him for that. I like the idea that he was just there. I didn't see bottom minders and people like that around him. Maybe they were waiting in the wings.
I generally think he was just by himself. I think he went to the queue. I think he was chatting to people around him, and I have absolute respect because that man must be worth. He's a multi-billionaire, but didn't want to be afforded any special privileges.
Yeah. Take note, Schofield.
So they've started to take the girls around to haunted venues. When we were in the car on the way back, Snow asked how many people were there with us. She said she saw a soldier wearing ragged clothes, a woman holding a girl's head, and a teenager in the top bedroom. She said
a woman holding a girl's head.
Bloody hell. That's exactly what it says.
And the mum's a therapist, and does she not think that her child might need some counselling? You've just seen a mum carrying a head. Okay.
Quite traumatic, I would argue.
And they're encouraging you. They're like, let's go ghost hunting.
Yeah, they said, well, let's turn the car around and see what we can find out. And then made her relive that tragedy and traumatic incident once again. She said they all look really tired, sad, and they were just staring at her. So
is this the children?
Just staring at her. No, that's what she said. That's what she said about the ghost that she saw in this haunted building, Alex.
Right. Okay.
Anyway, look, they googled the history of the building when they got home, and she got the soldier spot on. Apparently, not the other two. She has a bit of a gift. Doing investigation with the girls is very controversial. People ask if it's appropriate, which obviously you've alluded to. If she has a superpower, we don't want her to be scared, and why shouldn't she use it? The family claim they've even had the spirit of a little girl attach itself to them whilst out ghost hunting. Kemi says the attachment is so strong, she's convinced the child is her own. Forgetting obviously she's also got 2 kids. Alex, I'm going to leave it there.
There's too much. Yeah, I think there's that's a few therapy sessions at least.
Yeah. Look, there's my second story is from the Leicestershire
Live. Can I turn off the spooky music?
No. This is Halloween themed as well, Alex.
Right,
please. This is by Phil Norris and Jake Meus Jones. It's from the 17th of October. And the headline is Mum's inspirational Halloween costume she knits for her children. Now, in essence, Alex, it doesn't sound like a lot of a very funny or humorous story. However, it's the list of costumes that she's made, Alex. And now, what I would say is I would encourage listeners to find this story out because the costumes she makes are superb. They are crocheted, but they are superb. So, a mum spends up to 80 hours making crocheted Halloween costumes for her boys. And I'm not going to say what the costumes are. And they are epic. So, Stephanie Poconoy, 46 from Orwell, Ohio, US, has been making the stunning costumes for her sons Jacob, 10, and Jack, 7. The head-to-toe designs include all the intricate details of her kids' favourite superheroes and baddies. Made solely by hand using yarn, Stephanie takes requests from her children as far back as August before spending weeks making eye-catching costumes.
Sorry. Like people like Spider-Man, how are they Halloween themed? They're not scary.
I'm going to read out the list to you, Alex. Now, can I just remind you that the kids are 10 and 7? So the kids then wear the costumes trick-or-treating or to school parties, where they've garnered plenty of interest from friends. Speaking about her costumes, which have even featured in Ripley's Believe It or Not, Stephanie said, I really like being able to do something that you're not going to be able to find anywhere else and create it from scratch. Now, Alex, I'm going to skip the rest of the story. I'm just going to move on to the list of costumes. So here is a list of costumes that she's made so far for her kids aged 10 and 6. So the first one is a xenomorph from Alien.
These are. I have to sit. Have you seen pictures of it? Are they good?
Yeah, they actually are. Alex, these are requests from her children. How have her children seen Alien?
Good point, Rob.
So a xenomorph from Alien, a garden gnome, Peely from Fortnite, which I'm obviously too young to know, Slender Man, Krampus, Skeletor, Slimer, Predator, Harry Potter, Smurf, E.T., the Absolem from Alice in Wonderland, and also potentially the most terrifying, Pennywise from It.
Go back a few names to that list. There was something there that stood out to me as incongruous, was not something scary. It shouldn't be. E.T.'s not meant to be scary.
E.T. Papa Smurf, maybe.
That's a
Smurf,
bit mean.
Harry Potter.
Are we accusing Papa Smurf of something? Why is he on there? Is he caught up in one of these investigations?
I mean, I've always suspected Alex. But no, I think in the US as well, it doesn't need to be a Halloween costume. It's just a costume, isn't it? It doesn't necessarily need to be scary. Again, Slender Man, Pennywise, and a xenomorph. I feel she needs to be vetting what her children are watching.
I would have just liked if it ended with "and the devil incarnate." Okay, Robert, it's time for our listener story of the week. What you got? Who's it from?
So this is from Kyber, from the Nottinghamshire Live, from the 20th of September by Rachel Sherdley. And now, Alex, this story made me laugh, but it does make me concerned. So look, the headline is, Neighbour called police after councillor allegedly held lockdown... Neighbour called police after councillor allegedly held meetings in his hot tub during lockdown. Now, this is like a local councillor, not like a councillor.
That's a lifestyle choice. It's not illegal, is it?
Well, interesting you say that. No, it's not actually illegal because technically he was a key worker. But we'll come on to that. So a neighbour called police after Nottinghamshire councillor Tom Hollis held regular council meetings with music in his hot tub during the first lockdown.
That is living the dream, isn't it there, Rob?
It really is, Alex. So former neighbour Shannon Jones Golding made the claim that she gave evidence at the councillor's Nottinghamshire Magistrates Court trial and said she called the police for advice. So Hollis, who was the deputy leader of Ashfield District Council, denies harassing Miss Jones Golding and partner Luke Golding in May 2020 when the UK was 2 months into the first national lockdown at their home in Wimwell Close, Sutton and Ashfield. Miss Jones Golding alleged of such meetings, which Hollis denies. Sometimes it could be morning, sometimes afternoons, into the evenings, with a number of different people. She even made what she thought was an anonymous phone call to police for advice on COVID measures and asked if this was allowed. Now, his barrister then says, you were told by police that this wasn't breaching the rules, but still you persisted. So a new mum, she spoke at the trial of her concern about children in Hollis's home next door being in close contact to her daughter through their 6-inch high fence. I wanted to know what the measures were and if Mr. Hollis should have been actually doing what he was doing.
So, Rob, can you dissect that for me? What is she implying there? Sorry, just break this down for me. Explain it to me. What are her concerns? She's because she's sort of mentioned she has an issue with this guy being in a hot tub and her 6-year-old daughter being nearby on the other side of a fence. What's she implying?
I think he's trying to imply that for some reason that obviously the only thing separating them were the fact there was a fence. So maybe that the coronavirus could potentially seep through the fence. I'm not entirely sure.
Right, not that he's like naked in the hot tub.
No, it's not that. No. So obviously she's called the police, asked for advice to say, look, is he allowed to do this? The police have told her that technically speaking, that's okay. Yeah. So
with all these rules we were making up on the fly at the time, like it's just great.
Exactly. So despite hoping the call was made anonymous, was made confidentially, she was told during the trial that Hollis's partner had asked her if she was the one who reported Hollis being in his hot tub. She denied this, but Hollis was said to have flung open the French door of his home in Wimwell Close, dragged the coffee table to the fence, and abruptly told her, "I know it was you that made the anonymous call to police. I heard your voice. I have contacts in the police. I know it was you."
Right, that's not what the bit. None of that was wise, and the bit saying I have contacts in the police, really confirms some of my worst suspicions about sort of, corruption.
Yeah, it's the fact that she's given evidence say that he flung over his French doors, dragged the coffee table to the fence, and this is what he shouted over the fence.
Well, yeah, and then saying I've got contacts in the police. The only thing that could have made that speech worse was if he'd ended it saying I'm a Freemason.
Well, Alex, he does go on to say apparently Hollis told her he knew the rules as he made the rules and he wasn't doing anything wrong, and I was going to be done for harassment of a key worker, said Mrs. Jones Golding. I make the rules. That's very Emperor Palpatine. I am the Senate.
I am the Senate.
That's great.
No, it is, yeah, absolutely. Now, Alex, this does unfortunately escalate. So the prosecution alleged it was bullying. More seriously, the defendant also got Mr. Jones Golding's husband arrested for allegedly possessing and threatening with the bladed article. Are you with me so far? So the councillor.
What's a bladed article? The coffee table?
A knife, basically.
He threatened her with a knife.
So he threatened. So the councillor threatened to get her husband arrested for possession of a bladed article. So this is what happened.
Right.
On one occasion, Hollis is alleged to have been hanging over the garden fence, abusing the next door neighbours. Thankfully, said the prosecutor, the next door neighbour was filming some of what happened and carried on filming when she saw the defendant retreat from the fence and went round the back of his property. What he did then, it's claimed, when he went on to the phone, he went on to dial 999 and started play acting as if he was being chased by the male victim with a knife. As the
Sorry, I'm so confused. Who's who in this? Who's got the knife? The guy in the hot tub? The councillor?
No one. No one has a knife. So what had happened is Mr. Hollis called 999.
Mr. Hollis is the councillor, is he?
Is the councillor.
He's called the police back. His contacts in the force. He's called them.
He's called them and play acted and tried to make out that he was being threatened by the husband. But it was entirely made up. He was play acting.
Brilliant. What? This councillor shouldn't really be in a job, no? I mean...
No, well, this is why this trial's going on. So as the prosecutor continued to outline the case against Hollis, who pleads not guilty, he is said to run into his house squealing, almost crying, and shouted that he was being followed, and don't come at me with that. Whilst in the safety of his home, he carried on with a 999 call and made it clear that the male victim chased him with a knife. Police arrived and officers went to arrest Mr. Golding for possession of a blade and threatening with a knife. The police then realised it was a false complaint against the prosecution.
How did they realise that, I wonder? Because it's not like the guy wouldn't have had knives in his home. He would have done. So I wonder how they realised that it was fake.
Because the neighbour was recording it all. So they recorded this entirely fictitious interaction.
Rob, this is a very good Skyber. Sorry, this is an extraordinarily good, rich story. I'm enjoying it very much.
That's pretty much it, Alex. The trial against Hollis continues. So what I'd ask, Kyber, if you know what the outcome is, please do let us know, because I don't think this man should be in any sort of form of public office.
I'd enjoy being the one that has to represent him in court.
I'd love to see the video, I must admit.
I'd say, do you know what I'd come in with if I was the lawyer, his attorney? It would be that chemicals from the hot tub, it was over-chemicalised and the fumes disorientated him and made him act in an erratic fashion that he was not himself.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, Rob, that brings us to the end of Local Anaesthetic Podcast, episode 373. We are on our website, LAPodcast.net. We're on Facebook, boo, facebook.com, owned by Meta, boo, /LAPodcast. We're on Twitter. We're on, we are slightly hypocritical in that regard. We're on Spotify. But of course, look, if you want more content, please come on over. Now, since Jeremy Hunt has become the de facto Prime Minister, the markets are recovering, and maybe you can afford to join the good ship Local Anaesthetic Podcast and Extra Jab, which is on Patreon. That's patreon.com/LAPodcast Extra. You sign up and you get 2 episodes of LA Podcast and Extra Jab, which can only be found there. They're not released anywhere else. Straight to your inbox every month. And there's a whole back catalogue there, which you will be able to access of about 32, 33 episodes. And of course, listen out for the teaser for the next episode of An Extra Jab at the end of this podcast. It's always worth... once I start rambling like this, don't stop the podcast, because you've got that great teaser coming up. God bless.
And keep it local.
Local Anaesthetic Podcast is on Patreon, so go to patreon.com/LA Podcast Extra for access to our exclusive bonus episodes. You won't find them anywhere else. Here's a preview of what's coming up on the next LA Podcast, An Extra Jab. Woman pays for, in quotes, Russian astronaut to return to Earth in alleged scam.
I'm sorry, Alex. Are you telling me that a woman has been contacted by a scammer saying that they were a Russian astronaut and needed money to come home?
The suspect then asked the woman for money as expenses for a rocket and, in quotes, its landing fees on Earth.
What? Sorry. What?
McDonald's fan gets a £100 fine after his car visited local restaurant twice in 14 hours. It's not unacceptable to go to McDonald's twice in one day. I've never done it. Have you? You ever had a McBreakfast and then a dinner?
Twice one day? I don't think I have. No. I think you need to only visit McDonald's once a day. That's enough, really. I think if I visited twice, then I'd literally just clear out my entire bowel within a matter of hours.
Because it's so fibrous and nutritious, Rob, right?
Eco Mob moans about being left in the dark as showroom staff turn off lights and heating to go home during protest. They refused our request to provide us with a bowl to urinate and defecate in a decent manner whilst we were glued and have turned off the heating.
Rob, if somebody broke into my house and glued themselves to the floor and then said, "Can you give me a bowl to shit in?" I'd say, "No, fuck you."
Yeah.